All right, took the 57 for a short spin earlier today. Got distracted doing some other stuff, so it's time to put her back in the old Montana garage. So let's see if I can get her to fire back up. Got to reach inside to open it up because there's, no door handle. And the electric solenoids don't work, so that's on my list of stuff to do. Is I'm going to race this thing, so I actually got to get rid of the solenoids and put some actual handles on there. Probably go can dig it. All right, so 4-speed. Put her in neutral, turn the key, and see what happens. Oh yeah, that's right. This is a race car. It's not about just turning a key. It's about pushing buttons and wizardry. So I'm not going to show everybody in the whole world that, but we'll see if it'll start. Start off with the first button. Listen for a clickety-clack. I hear a clickety-clack. Got the primer pump going. After a few seconds, push the second button. And then the third. And we got nothing. Well, that's not good. There we go. Too much of the first button, I think, was the problem. Everybody, another Saturday night out here in the Montana garage. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. I didn't have a chance to get out in the shop today earlier, but I got a couple hours here late at night. Try to get caught up on a few things. Thought I'd do a quick walk around, let you know where we're at and what we're up to. Also, thanks to the new followers and subscribers I've got at Montana Garage. I really appreciate that. Instagram, Montana Garage, really growing like crazy. Appreciate all the new followers. And the YouTube Montana Garage has gained a few new subscribers lately also, almost to 100. So I don't know, that's not very many, but it's more than I thought I'd ever get. So hopefully I'm going to be able to start making a little more content. I got some ideas to hopefully spice it up a little bit. We'll see how that goes when I get a chance to incorporate them. And thank you all for watching. Please like, subscribe, hit the little bell, and leave some comments. I like hearing from you guys and seeing what you want to see. So let's see where we're at. All right, so the last video should have been about the spring pocket kit install on the frame. I still haven't moved forward on the frame. Beyond that, I'm pretty much ready. Well, not totally ready. Pretty much ready to spray it, but you can see some shiny areas here. That's where I've gone along. The frame has been sandblasted. And the shiny areas are some little spots that, there was some still a little bit of grease or some little marks that I hit with a wire wheel. So I still need to do that a little more, get it all cleaned up. I think there's a couple little stress cracks in a few spots, just like on these frame horns on the other side. I got to flip it over. So just got to go over the frame with a fine-tooth comb, check everything out, a couple little touch-up welds, some wire wheeling, get it all cleaned off, and that'll be ready to spray. Unless I remove these frame horns, which I'm thinking about doing, but then I just got to buy new motor mounts and all that stuff. I have the right bell housing and the mounts to put it back together like this, but now's the time, I guess, to kind of upgrade it and make it a little better. So just got to decide if I want to drop a few more $100 on new mounts and a cross member, and then what kind of other headaches that's going to bring. Are my headers still going to fit? All that good stuff. So got to decide that, but I'll get to it eventually. So while I've been waiting to finish up the frame, I don't have I'm going to spray it with SPI epoxy, and I don't have that on hand yet. I need to get it ordered. I guess I can't have it on hand if I don't order it, right? So probably need to get it ordered. So we'll get on that. What have I been doing in the meantime? My son's square body hood. This was a new hood, and it actually was in pretty good shape. It looks like there's a lot of filler on it, but these are just, it was just little tiny, low spots. The only thing that's really significant at all is just the kind of the, where they formed that little ridge was kind of screwed up in the back. And then there's, you know, a little bit more of a low spot right there. The rest of it all is really pretty insignificant compared to what it looks like. You know, there's all those high spots you can see, and then where it's a little low, we got the filler. This needs obviously cleaned off. It's been sitting off for a few days, and then beans there's so much burn throughs in the primer or whatnot, we will probably just spray another coat of epoxy, and then we'll do our second prime of the high build primer. And probably what we're doing, he's trying to drive this truck while we're working on it. We'll probably get the second coat of primer on here and then install it on the truck while he's driving it around. And then once we get the whole truck in the gray primer, then we will, you know, do our second blocking of the primer and get ready to paint. But that's going to be a long process. We're hoping to have it, you know, all gray for him when school starts, but that's not very far away if they go to school. So what have I been working on in the meantime? This is my 55 Chevy trunk lid, and it was bright orange, as you can see from the little bit of stuff left on the latch. So I had a bright idea the other day that I needed to get this ready because I'm going to spray the bottom of the car soon. I wanted to get the inside of the trunk ready to spray at the same time. This was bright orange. The orange paint, you know, was stuck on pretty good, but yet had areas where it would kind of flake off. So I knew I at least had to get the orange off. You can see the yellow here is, I'm assuming, the original color. And when you get down to that, that stuff's on there pretty good. So I'm not going to worry about, you can see I got most of it off in here, but I'm not going to worry about getting every little bit of yellow off, you know, as long as it's feathered out nicely. So I decided to sandblast that. You guys can probably tell that that's not a sandblasted finish. So why is that? Because my Harbor Freight sandblaster, that I was actually pretty happy with when I sandblasted the frame, didn't work worth a damn when I tried to sandblast the trunk lid. And here's why. Because it's got some areas of sheet metal. I mean, obviously all this bracing and stuff was probably fine. I probably could have used the aluminum oxide. All this formed metal is pretty strong, I'm sure, but this is just the trunk skin, you know, the inside of the trunk skin here. So I didn't want to take any chances of, you know, using the wrong media and warping the metal. I'm not a sandblast expert, but I can read the internet enough to know that you shouldn't use sand or the really coarse medias. It causes heat and can warp it and all that good stuff. Now, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not an expert. This is all curved and it's older metal. It probably would have been fine, and if I would have used the aluminum oxide, the sandblaster probably would have worked fine. I actually did sandblast the rear end. So, I mean, it worked decent for that. I'm getting ready to, I still have to move the spring mounts, spring pads for the spring pocket kit. So decided to clean that up because I had to get the aluminum oxide out of the blaster. So I blasted that. That's how I got it out of there. Worked out pretty good. So I bought walnut blast media to do the trunk lid. So here it is. And it's got some garbage in it now because this is after it's been sprayed. There's still lots of aluminum oxide mixed in too, but this stuff, I don't know if there's different, this said coarse, and it probably doesn't look very big on film here, but those are pretty big chunks. I mean, compared to the little fine aluminum oxide grains, those are like chunks of walnut. So I don't know. That's what they had. I bought it at Harbor Freight. Maybe there's some finer stuff that worked good, but that coarse walnut stuff was just too much for these little ball valves. Well, only air goes through this one, but there was one on the bottom of the blaster. It's the same cheap ball valve where the media comes out. And that thing was just constantly getting plugged up. And you have to take this hose off and a fitting off down below. And it was a nightmare. I would be able to blast for about 10 seconds, and then I have to take it all apart. And I don't know. I ended up getting maybe a half of this blasted pretty well. And I just got, but it took me, I don't even know, it took me like freaking 4 hours of messing with that stupid blaster. So I got fed up with that, and put that away, and I just did the rest of it with some of these roll lock discs or whatever they're called. And that worked pretty good. It just took a little time, but she's pretty darn clean. I got a little bit of stuff to do. I'll probably take these latches, that latch off of there, and then this little locator thing, one of the nuts or screws is broke, bolts is broke, but I'll get that off there. This looks like, might even be aluminum or something where I can just polish that up. We'll see when I take it off. But anyway, so that's what I decided to do. Let's try to get this stuff ready. So that's mostly ready. Again, I'm not ready to just come over here and start spraying. I'll have to look it over, take care of those latches, and make sure it's ready. But we'll get the underside of this ready. And now I'm working on the inside of the trunk. So same story in here, bright orange. At some point, this car was pretty much bathed in orange. You can see evidence of it still on the inside of the door there. My dad bought this car in Rapid City, South Dakota, I don't know, early 70s. I was born in 71. My brother was born in 77, 78. So maybe it was late 70s. I have a picture of my brother when he was small enough to basically fit on the steering wheel as a baby in this car. So it's been around for a while. At that point, the earliest pictures I have of it, the whole body is orange. It probably was wrecked at some point. Obviously, it's been wrecked at a couple points, but the front clip, I think it had green hood, green fender, and black fender. The rest of it was orange. Even the frame, when I was sandblasting, I don't remember this. It was never orange when I had it, but I had, rattle canned the frame when I was in high school, and I sanded a little bit, but I don't remember that it was orange. But I found little bits of bright orange. Is there any left? Oh, there's some inside there, and I don't know if you can see that on that. So the car had never been off the frame, I'm pretty sure, but the front clip was all orange, and that was actually kind of hard to get off, even with the sandblaster. So, but here in the trunk, the orange, as you can kind of see up here, it's, I'm just scratching with my fingernail. Whoops, I guess if I was actually filming it, you'd see. I can pretty much scratch it off with my fingernail. So the orange isn't, bonded really well. So I have to get the orange off for sure. And then in some places, it's bonded pretty good. But for the most part, my theory is to just get the orange off. The yellow, the original color, that stuff is stuck on really well. So I'm not going to worry about getting that off of there again, just like on the underside of the trunk. But I'll have to spend a little bit of time. I mean, it's inside of the trunk, so probably I don't have to do anything, but I will spend way too much time trying to make it better than it has to be, just like I always do. Like all the time I spent grinding on all these little welds and stuff that most people probably just spray over because it's the trunk. But I don't know. We'll spend some time on it. Hopefully we can make her nice. Okay, so the reason I started by sandblasting the inside of the trunk is I was hoping that that was going to work well. And then once it worked well, I'd be like, hey, that worked pretty well. I'm going to do the same thing. I bought this damn sandblaster. The reason I bought it was because obviously I want to do the frame, but I knew I had this orange shit on the trunk and the jams, and not orange, but the firewall also needs some attention. And so I was hoping to be able to use a sandblaster on that. But the trunk, or the sandblasting of the trunk lid was, as I mentioned earlier, basically a shit show. When it sprayed, the walnut stuff actually removed the paint pretty well. But it clogged up the blaster so much, and then to get it to spray, you had to have it on full wide open, and so much material was coming out of there, and then it was just making such a mess that to try to do that in here, the whole car would be full of those freaking walnut shells. Also, the way my rotisserie, not the way the rotisserie is, but I don't have concrete outside of that door, so I have a little bit of lip and then gravel. So to be able to roll the car out on the rotisserie would be a bit of a challenge. I could probably find a way to make it work. But between that and the fact that it's going to be so messy and the blaster didn't work worth a damn, I've decided to give up on the whole blasting idea, at least on this stuff. And we're going to do the roll lock disc or wire wheels, or I tried a while back, I think it was inside of the trunk lid, so it's already gone, but I tried some chemical stripper. That didn't seem like that was working very good. So mostly I guess I'm just going with the roll lock disc method. It's working okay, it takes a little bit of time, but we'll get her done. Once she's stripped off, much like it was before, the sides of the trunk and the trunk lid, inside of the trunk lid, will be body color. And then the floor, I don't think I'm going to go body color. I'm going to go, guess I don't know for sure what I'm doing. I can't remember. The floor might have been orange at some point too. There was too much rust in there to tell. Underside, I've mentioned before, is going to be truck bed liner. So I'm either going to do bed liner on the floor of the trunk or some of that kind of textured trunk paint. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. It's not going to be all fancy with carpet and panels and all that shit. But we want it to look nice. So I'll spend some time getting this all cleaned up. I got some welding. I don't really have any welding to do. I'll probably find some pinholes. I might have some welding to do, but you can see where I've welded from the underside on the pinholes. So I got some grinding to do. Still a bead here where I replace this little piece, both sides. A lot of people, you know, normal or sane people would probably just leave that. It's just inside of the trunk. But I don't know. I got tools to do it, so I'll spend a little time grinding on it, try to make it look a little nicer. And then we'll get this ready to spray. I'm not sure, when I say I'm going to paint this body color, I'm not sure what color that's going to be. Obviously, I'm not to the point where I need to decide body color right now. And I've always kind of said this thing's probably never going to get painted anyways. Initially, it's probably just going to be either black epoxy or maybe that flat black, that hot rod black. Maybe it'll just stay primer. I don't know. But at some point, I'm probably going to paint it. So that's why I may have to kind of come up with a plan so I can figure out what I'm doing in here. So for now, it'll be stripped, epoxied, and then maybe coated with like a 2K primer on top of that. And then we'll wait and decide what color it's going to be. I don't know. I kind of like orange 55. I might go back to orange. Who knows? I was just talking to my buddy about this. He just got his 55 painted, and he hemmed and hawed and had a hard time deciding what to finally do. And he did like a blue with the airbrush patina. I think it looks pretty badass, but he's getting some people that don't like it. But you know, who cares what other people think? I guess it's his car. So I don't know. I was gonna go red and white years ago. I got some seats up here that I had redone back in probably like 91, 92, 93. Yeah, more like 93, 94 when I got out of the service. So you can see they're red and black. That's the rear seat. Front seats are buckets out of like a 3rd gen Camaro. And they're also that red and black. And they look pretty cool, but I'm not really stoked on those high back buckets being in here now. I don't know, I was fine with it back then, but now I'd rather have some older school seats, find something out of a, you know, an Impala Chevelle type style bucket seat. I don't have it used to have a bench seat in it. I don't have the bench seat. I took it out while I was working on it at some point and left it sitting at a trailer house that we used to own, and we rented it out to a guy, and his dog chewed the hell out of my seat. And I was in high school at the time, and I didn't know any better. And I was like, bench seats are lame. I'm going with the bucket seat. And I probably still wouldn't have put the bench seat back in, but I just took the damn thing to the dump and threw it away because it was all tore up. But those things are worth like $1,000 now, 2-door bench seat. It was destroyed, but the frame was still good. Live and learn, I guess, huh? All right, we better get some work done. All right, without too much trouble, got one side mostly done. A little bit more right at the front that's hard to reach, so I'll get that from crawling inside of the car. And then I got to mess around with this hinge. Looks like this little cover comes off here, but I'll have to kind of scrape some orange out of the hinge. And then obviously just kind of a little more up there. Go over it a little better, make sure it's feathered. Looks like there's some sort of, I can't figure out what's going on here. Obviously there's some damage here. Something must have at some point poked through the trunk here. I took a screwdriver and I can't poke through there. So, and I can't really get, I'm too lazy to like lay down and see what's going on from the underside. Tonight I just got cleaned up, so when I get the car flattened out, I'll look from the other side and see what's going on here. I may have to do a little bit of welding right there. Ground down a little bit of these welds. So next time out I'll tackle that side. I'll have to move the frame a little bit so I can tilt the car the other way. And we'll get rid of some more orange paint. All right, back out in the Montana garage, and today we're working on the 55 over here. Let's see what we're doing. I did a mini tub on this thing a while ago, a long while ago now at this point, and I just got done kind of doing the final grinding. I had a little extra welding to do down on a couple of these spots. You can see a couple places here where I've touched up where there were some little pinholes. I still have to grind those off on that side. But this side is all pretty well ready to go. What I'm going to do is, so here's the, you can obviously see the piece that I put in there. These are the stock wheel tubs that I just cut and moved over this close to 3 inches, I guess it is. And I don't know, they both turned out okay. This side I think turned out a little better as far as the shape of it. This one's kind of came to a funny point here, just how it worked out. But I'm going to, it's the trunk, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time, but I'm going to throw a little filler in here just to make it a little less ugly. You know, try to hide the fact that those were cut apart and welded back together. And then there's, while I'm doing it, there's some little low spots on there. I'll throw a little filler in there. And again, like I said, I'm not going to spend a ton of time, but I'm just going to try to make it look a little better. So we got that side, and then I'll rotate the car back down, take care of that little bit of grinding, and do that side. I still have to, you can see the patch panel that I put in here. I kind of scuffed this coating, that E-coat that it comes in. You can see the difference there where it's non-scuffed and here where I scuffed it. So that all needs to be scuffed and down in here so that we can get ready to paint the trunk. Hopefully coming up soon. First thing I did is I took a little angle die grinder with an 80 grit sanding disc and I scuffed up all the areas that I'm going to put a little filler on, pretty much all of that. And like I say, there's a couple little, just some little dings in a spot where I took the hinge mount, used to be welded onto that because this obviously was scooted over to there. So you can see where I filled these holes where that was spot welded on there. So I'm going to try to just smooth that out a little bit. So everything's all cleaned up and I'm ready to go mix some mud. Got the first round of spreading done. I don't know, I didn't do too bad. Much like everything I do out here in the Montana garage, I'm far from an expert. I'm just kind of trying to figure this stuff out. I like to do as much of this stuff myself as I can rather than paying somebody else to do it. And that means a lot of it's probably not going to be perfect, but I don't know about you guys, but I get a lot of satisfaction out of doing it myself. You know, and having a car or hot rod that I built rather than just going picking one off the shelf and driving around somebody else's work. So I don't know, I like tinkering and learning as I go. I've done a little bit of body work. A lot of it was a long time ago, back when my Uncle Gordy, that's whose car that is or was. You know, he used to be kind of my mentor, my car guy that kind of taught me what I was doing. He's not around anymore to teach me anymore, so I got to kind of figure it out on my own. But I learned a lot from him and kind of using some of that I learned right now. We'll let that set for a little bit and break out some sandpaper and some blocks and we'll make her look a little better. I can tell I'm probably going to have to spread at least a couple more times. But we're not going for perfect. We're just trying to make that mini tub that I did look a little less obvious. It's just the trunk, so, and this isn't a show car by any means. Hopefully it'll be a driver one of these days soon. We'll keep plugging away. Got the first batch all sanded down. We had a few more low spots that I had to hit again, so I spread some more Bondo or filler, I guess it is. Then I got distracted doing some other work around the house, so now I'm ready to sand away again. See if we can make her look a little better. Make some more dust. So there we have it. Got one side done. As usual, I spent way too much time on something that's just going to be buried in the trunk on a car that isn't really ever going to be perfect. But I tried to make it as nice as I could. Took, I don't even know, 3 or 4 times I had to kind of fill it and then sand it. But I think I got her pretty good. I mean, it's just not, like I say, it's not perfect, but she's pretty smooth. A little bit of primer and paint on there, and it won't be quite as obvious, at least to the untrained eye, that we widened that wheel tub. So I think it turned out all right. Just a little bit of time invested. So we got one more to go over here. This one I think will be a little bit easier. It's funny, the wheel tubs, you think they'd be the same left and right, but I don't know, the shape of the inside trunk is a little different. This kind of comes down and makes a turn there, and then this side it doesn't do that. And so this wheel tub kind of had more of a pronounced kind of point right here, and I'm sure that's something, from when I welded it in, but I was trying to make them kind of match, and then I realized I can't really make them match. They're a little different how they tie into the side of the car there. But good enough for in the trunk. We'll get going on the other one, probably not tonight, but next, and then hopefully we'll be spraying some paint in this bad boy soon. All right, back out here in the Montana garage for part 2 of Make My Widened Wheel Tubs Look Prettier on the 55 over here. I got her flipped back around on the rotisserie, angled the other way. Let's go take a peek. We left off with this side being pretty much done, and I already started on this side. I got one round of filler and sanding done, and then I just threw another thin coat. Again, it looks like a lot of putty on there, or filler on there, but it's just a thin coat really. Just trying to hide that welding, so we'll see how she looks when we're done sanding some more. All right, bring you back for another update. I did another session of sanding. Still had a couple low spots, and I decided to go ahead and throw a little filler on this little corner up here. That was the first patch I did, and I don't know if I've mentioned it before, if you can see it in any of the other photos or videos, but I did a little patch right here on this corner, and that was the first one I ever did, and I was kind of learning how to weld, and I still don't really know how to weld, but I'm getting better. But I kept burning through, and so there's just, right here, there's a big cobble where I just kept trying to fill in the hole with weld, and it was pretty ugly, and I thought about cutting it out of there and redoing it, but I just guess I didn't care enough to do that. But I thought I would try to hide it a little bit anyways with some filler. The rest of it, I mean, it's just the trunk floor. I decided I told myself I'm not going to really worry about it. I had a little extra mud on one of my mixes, so I just kind of wiped it on a couple of these weld seams. But I'm not going to try to hide all this shit. I've already spent way too much time in here. It means it's just the trunk of a car that is going to be used. But fun to work on it, I guess, so I just keep doing more than a guy should. So we'll do some more sanding and see how she looks. Okay, a couple hours and about 20 pounds of body filler dust later, I got to the point of what I like to call good enough. Let's take a peek. All right, so here we go. Got a little more filler on this side. This was a little more dinged up in here. Actually, probably, this one's pretty good. This one should probably look more like that one. There's a couple little dings in here, and I didn't spread all over that whole thing like I did on this side. But like I say, we're going for good enough. And it's in the trunk, so that's good enough, I think, for me. I already spent way too much time, way more time than I should have in here. And then I got this here, kind of, again, good enough. There's one of the weld seams, and it's a little high there, as you can tell by it coming through, so it's probably still going to show up. In a perfect world, I'd put probably a little more filler right there. But again, going for good enough. I'm not going to worry about I already spent way too much time again grinding all those seams. The trunk floor, we'll probably get either bed liner or like a spackled trunk paint, and then it's going to have a rubber mat on it, so not super worried about it. The sides will probably be either black or body color. I don't know what the body color is yet, so I wanted to make them a little better. I wanted to make it just so it wasn't super obvious that it's been mini tubbed. So I think it turned out okay. Next thing we got to do is I still have to scuff this up so I can paint it or prime it. And then in here, if you look next to the wheel tub there's a seat brace that one's obviously there. This side, it's not there. So part of the mini tubbing process, you got to take that out of there. You can see the holes where I cut the spot welds out. And now I'll have to, re-arch it and then put it back in. And then that has a little hook on it. I don't know if you can see that hook over there. That's what holds the seat back in. So, and then you can see the, the strip of metal I put in for the mini tub kit there in the front part. So anyways, I got to put that other piece for the seat in and then scuff the trunk a little bit, and she'll be ready for some epoxy primer in there finally. And then I guess probably epoxy prime this whole floor too at the same time, and move on to something else.